Hello and welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint Show. I am your host, Jay Jones. Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the Black community by promoting business ownership. If you are currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, we invite you to join us every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint.
Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 273. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have an outstanding show in store for you, family. Today we're going to be talking with a dynamic young entrepreneur, Miss Amber Quinney, also known as the Scholarship Queen. Now, before I forget, guys, this episode is actually on video too on YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube channel, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and you click episode 273 video, so we're going to have it on YouTube and also on all of the major podcast platforms as usual. And today's show topic is Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, a case study. Now, before we get to today's episode, I just want to share a few additional things with the BEB family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please make sure you check out the blog as well as the podcast. Also, my new book is out, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. So if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, please go to anewblackwallstreet.com. Pick yourself up the digital version. It's $9.95, and it's also revised with updated content in chapters. Now, if you need additional assistance building your e-commerce business, I've created a compatible online course titled educatedecommerce.com. You can go to educatedecommerce.com and enroll in the course. Now, I always talk about circulating black dollars in the black worldwide economy. So I've created two platforms to help do so, family. The first one is BeSmartByBlack.com. BeSmartByBlack.com. If you are a black product producer and you want to connect with black consumers worldwide, upload your product information. It is free. Now, all you freelancers, if you do stuff on Fiverr.com or Freelancer.com, I've created a platform titled HireBlackFreelancers.com. HIRE blackfreelancers.com. Upload your information, family. It's free, and connect with black consumers and black businesses that are looking to hire a black freelancer. Also, if you want to request me to speak at an organization, a church, a school, a university, or for my book tour, please go to bookjjones.com and just fill out the brief form and I'll get right back to you. Also, this episode is titled Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, a case study. And when you listen to the episode, Amber is actually going to talk about episode 199, which was titled Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, and how she actually used that concept to create her business. So I just wanted to remind you also that the Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius course is available. If you go to bebgenius.com, bebgenius.com, and you're one of the first 5 to enroll, you can save $100 on the course. Just use coupon code GENIUS, GENIUS. So Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, family. That's the intersection between your passion and your talent. And there's no higher form of entrepreneurship than being able to monetize your genius. And that's really what it's all about, family. It's building that perfect business that's customized for you. It's not a cookie cutter business. It's not a franchise. You're not chasing money. You're combining your passion and your talent, and you're monetizing that. So once again, it's the highest form of entrepreneurship. If you're interested, go to bebgenius.com. You can enroll in the course. Use coupon code GENIUS. You'll save $100 for the first 5 people. Now, let's get to today's interview with the Scholarship Queen, Miss Amber Quinney. We are on the line and also on video with Miss Amber Quinney. She is the scholarship queen. Now, Amber, for those of us that don't know who you are, can you give us a little bit of background? Then we're going to jump into your entrepreneurial journey.
Yes. Jay, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be on this side of the podcast. I'm a member of the BEB family, a loyal listener, and so I'm grateful to be on this end. So, hey, how you doing, family? I'm Amber Quinney, professionally known as the Scholarship Queen. I am a child of God, first and foremost. I am a servant. I'm a scholar. I am a 24-year-old business owner. I'm a competitive scholarship coach. I'm a good girls advocate, and best of all, I'm a speaker. I absolutely love speaking. I've been speaking almost my entire life in different capacities, but I officially kickstarted my public speaking career my last year of college. I got to do a TED Talk. It's something I'm super proud of. My talk has gone viral. It's reached people in countries I've never been to, countries I've never heard of, but people have made it their business to find me on social media and let me know how that 18 minutes bless their life. And so I'm so grateful. I know that being a speaker is my profession, but I really believe that being a messenger and a truth teller is my spiritual gift, and it is my divine assignment on this planet. So to answer your question, I'm a young woman who is gifted and wildly talented, eager about life, resilient, and I give myself permission to live in my genius every single day.
There you go. I appreciate that. So now, Amber, I know some of the backstory because you and I are good friends with my man Elijah Tyson, who was actually on the show before. But how did you get started? Tell us what your scholarship, your legendary scholarsacademy.com is, and tell people how that kind of started.
Yes. So to begin, I'll say this: scholarships plus crazy faith is how I survived college. Cool. Right. And so Pastor Michael Todd out in Tulsa at Transformation Church, he talks about this idea of crazy faith. And it's helped me learn how to tell my story because it's how I survived scholarships. Right. And so my community of peers and professors and mentors, they nicknamed me the scholarship queen. Like just going throughout college, they would say, wow, every time I look around, this girl's earning scholarships. I never stopped applying. I started in 10th grade and I never stopped applying. In fact, I'm a college graduate and I just earned my first scholarship post-grad this summer.
That's
so the Black MBA Association DC chapter created this new scholarship called Debt Relief Scholarship. And the scholarship queen was the first to earn it. But I say that to say it was my nickname. And casually I've been coaching people. They'd say, could you coach my kid? Could you help me? I'm trying to go back to school. Every time you look around, you're earning scholarships. And so I'll give you the short but very detailed story.
Okay.
When I started college at Howard University, I didn't come in on a scholarship. Right. And in retrospect, I should have questioned that, and we should have kind of fought against that because I was the 3-9 student. I was the class president. I was the ideal student who should have had a full ride, but I didn't. And I made up my mind that I deserve a world-class, high-quality education, and nothing will stop me, not even money. And so I applied to every single scholarship that I could find because I wanted to go to Howard, and that's where I deserve to go. And so at the start of my junior year, I decided to transfer from Howard to Canisius College, which is a small Jesuit college here in Western New York in my hometown. And what happened was my sophomore year of college, I was 19 years old and I was having this early life crisis where this teenage life crisis, because you gotta keep in mind, I'm a student. Like I've been excelling my whole life academically. I have never been denied access to education. And so my sophomore year at Howard, I remember after winter break coming back to school on the plane, registered for no classes, crazy faith. And so I didn't know how I was going to make it that semester, but I knew I had to go back to school. And so I ended up going to class for 3 months unregistered. Wow. That's how bad I wanted to be in class. Like I would go to class and then meanwhile I would go and I would chase around administrators and student accounts and financial aid, and I was writing letters and knocking on doors. I mean, I was fighting because that's how bad I wanted a seat in the classroom. That's how bad I wanted to graduate. And so I remember my mom saying, like, you're not doing this anymore. I'm coming to get you. Like, you are not, because Jay, I have been put out my dorm. Because now technically I'm not a student.
Student, right.
You go to class every day for 3 months and you're not registered on paper. You're not a student here. The room and board is gone. Meal plan is gone. Like, I'm out here like living crazy. Yeah. And so I just remember this long-winded story to say, my mom was coming to get me on a Friday. On a Wednesday, I got a call from a man in the alumni office, and he said, Amber, I have 2 people in front of me who want to write you a check to go to school. What? And I'm like,
wow.
Crazy. And so crazy faith, right? That's and right. So I rushed there to the office, and I'm coaching myself. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I get to the office, the tears come rolling down. There's 2 people standing in front of me, a man and a woman. The woman is crying. I don't know why she's crying. The man is so excited and beaming with excitement. Turns out it was a husband and wife, 2 Howard alum, who had came to the office to talk to the alumni office about establishing a scholarship foundation. Mm-hmm. It just so happened that the wife's, it was a husband and wife. Her story was my story when she was at Howard. Get out. She went to Howard for 4 years being unregistered. And so I say that to say I became the scholarship queen by fighting to finish, right? To graduate. I earned an abundance of 6 figures in scholarships. At one point, I earned more scholarships than I needed. My refund checks were fat, and they weren't loans, right? They weren't loans. And and so I say that to say, again, it became a nickname at first because that's who I was. And so after college, I was burned out. I graduated last year, and I always knew I wanted to be a business owner. I never knew that I could monetize it. I never knew that I could trademark my nickname. Mm-hmm. And so I love when people ask me, not just how'd you become the scholarship queen, because they already knew that's who I was, but how'd you go about starting a business? And I love to tell them, well, I figured out how to pinpoint and monetize my genius. And then they say, what? Tell me more. And I love when I get to say, you know what, there's a brother who could tell you better. Let me tell you about my teacher, Jay. Literally, Jay, that's how I established the business. My business name is the Scholarship Queen. I'm working on obtaining a trademark with a lawyer. And literally, I remember sitting in my friends, like I was with Elijah, and we had listened to the episode. We literally charted it out. And so I listed out my passions, and I listed out my talents. And then there's your platform. And then there's the 6 things you can sell. And so when I looked at, wow, I'm passionate about education and self-enrichment, storytelling, and Black excellence, like all these just passions all over the place. I am business savvy. I'm competitive, right? I did competitive cheer, dance. I'm a pageant queen, competitive debate wise. I competed in case studies with Fortune 500 companies. Like, I'm a beast when it comes to competing.
I see that.
I'm a marketer. And then it dawns on me, like, I'm great at speaking and being a role model. I'm really good at winning scholarships. And so just this niche, it dawned on me, because it seems like the first 2 quadrants of the mind mapping tool is really about pinpointing, and the bottom 2 are more about monetizing. But it was like, like genius. And so it's such a very niche space. I don't work in college admissions. I don't do SAT, AC. I do scholarship coaching. I coach students on how to be the most competitive scholarship candidate in the game, period. And so the riches are in the niches, like they say.
That's right.
But it's genius. That's literally how I arrived at this business.
Oh, well, I appreciate you telling that story, because when people ask me, give them some of the best podcasts, of my podcast, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, I always take them to number 199, and that was titled Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. And that's where you got, the mind map and everything from. So 199, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, and your genius is the intersection between your passion and your talent. And so when I started thinking about that episode, I started looking or thinking about what would make people more successful as an entrepreneur and also give them joy in doing. So I started thinking about what you're passionate about, because I actually had to do this when I reinvented myself after my mortgage business crashed. So that's really where the impetus came from. I had to come back, and I wanted to do something that I enjoyed, and I wanted to use my talents, things that I'm good at, to put those 2 together. Because when you do that, that's just going to make the possibility of your business, the success of your business, just multiply, because you're doing something that you enjoy and something that you're good at, and you're putting them together. So 199, I'm glad you listened to that episode, Amber. But
I'm in business full time for myself, and I'm fresh out of college because of a mind mapping exercise that I listened to on a podcast. It's real, people.
That's what's up.
It
I
works.
appreciate that. So now with that in mind, so how did you start off? Once you got to Pinpoint Monetize, you went through the mind mapping exercise and everything. What was your first step, or what did you start thinking about in terms of the monetization aspect?
Yes. So, Jay, you know how you always say on the podcast about trialing, erroring, testing, don't be pressed to monetize. Well, I'm a great case that proves why you shouldn't be pressed to monetize.
Okay.
I was very pressed to monetize. So I graduated college last year. I graduated on Malcolm X's birthday, May 19th. Yeah. So much symbolism in my path. And so again, I knew that I had been depleted, right? Fighting to make it to the end. I knew I wanted to take a break before law school. I knew that I was serious about being an entrepreneur, but it was like, but what am I going to do? Like, what is the business? Right. And so, I hadn't listened to the episode. I had just crossed paths with my friend Elijah, and he put me onto the podcast. And so, I just say that to say when I left my paid internship and turned down a full-time job offer, I was already pressed to monetize. Gotcha. And so I share that to say with the audience, just to kind of reiterate the things that you teach us on a regular basis. So for me, my first step was, I got to do something. Like, what is it going to be? It's going to be scholarship coaching, but how do I put this out there? And so I did a scholarship event, Scholarship Fest, which was essentially a scholarship panel with diverse voices of different students, alum, administrators, just to talk about the impact that scholarship has on people's lives. And so we did the Q&A, and really what my goal was, I wanted people to get their questions answers. The name of our discussion was Myths, Mindset, and Money. So I wanted to have broad conversation, and I wanted people to feel comfortable raising their hands and asking questions and not feeling like, oh, this is a stupid question, or, oh, I should know this. You'd be surprised how much ignorance exists just in this space. Like, for example, people think that if you don't earn scholarships in your senior year of high school, you kind of just asked out. That's not the truth. Because as I said, when I went to Howard, I didn't come in on a scholarship. So scholarships was my hustle. It's how I lived, ate, slept, everything. So I said to say, I did the scholarship event, and that was kind of my first way of just getting started, like launching, kickstarting. In the meantime, I was developing my business model. Like, what will be my core revenue streams? Like, how will this business sustain? Because I already had proof of concept, and I had validation. Because again, people had already been coming to me for years. Again, I had been in the scholarship game since I was maybe 16 or 17, nonstop. So I've gotten people paid internships. I've gotten people scholarships to go across the world. Like, I have a track record testimony. So I knew the demand was there. I just didn't know, how do I package this and how do I put it out there? So I started again with Scholarship Fest, and I'm proud of that event because it is now scaled to what began as a scholarship panel at a library is now a full-scale conference with breakout sessions and keynote speakers. And we have evolved the conversation from scholarships. For me, that's surface level. We can find you some scholarships. We can get you in college. Like, if you know how to look and where to find them. But there's a deeper conversation that needs to be had. How about, what do we need to be doing to support our students from the gate to graduation outside of money, outside of finances? So meaning and on this panel, it is more diverse perspective. So from the family end, from the community end, from the college end, because there are resources on college. So for example, I have a parent on my panel where we get to talk about what does positive family support look like? Because what happens is many students go off to college first generation, and it's like this conflict. It's almost like living in two different worlds, and your family doesn't kind of understand because you're the first one to go that far. And believe it or not, students actually don't make it to the end because they don't know how to deal with that. And then there's the mental health and emotional support. So I just say that to say that was my first sort of kickoff. And for me, it was a top of the funnel event because after Scholarship Fest, they were like, all right, what's next? Like, we got the information, we got our question answer. Oh, you want to go sign up for coaching? So I had already developed some different coaching packages to sell like immediately at my event.
Cool.
And that's how I got many of my first buyers.
Oh, see, now I want the light bulb to go off to the BEB family. This is a young lady, dynamic young lady, as you can already see. that had an idea, had a concept, but she didn't just sit on that. And a lot of times we'll marinate on things and we'll try to wait until the perfect instance. It's never going to be a perfect time. And without putting something out, you're never going to get any feedback. So whatever you're looking to do, or you're running it around in your mind, put it out there in some form or fashion so people can give you feedback. And that feedback is going to help you direct your course and where it's going to be profitable and where it's not going to be profitable. So, I mean, I can tell right away you're a hustler. So you're out there, no, you're getting it and you're putting things out in the universe. And that's how you continue to move forward. So I had a mastermind group I was talking to the other night that I run. And one of the brothers on there, I'm telling him he has a lot of great ideas. I said, but bro, you got to put it out there so you can see what resonates or what doesn't resonate. So if you're thinking about something, guys, make sure that you take a step and put it out there. And as Amber said, I always talk about test. There's always a 0.2 version, 3.0, 4.0. It doesn't have to be perfect when it comes out. So now you were telling me you were pressed to make money. So how did you finance your business when it first started?
Yeah, I bootstrapped my way to launch. Because you got to keep in mind now, I have to make enough to provide for myself. And I mean, I'm young, I'm single. I don't have many, my living expenses. I keep them moderate, but I have to provide for myself. I have to have money to run the business, and then I have to make enough to put money back into the business. So literally bootstrapping my way up. Really, I didn't have a lot of startup costs. It was just the general like marketing, web development, just making sure I presented my business in a way that was true to like the value of the service I'm offering. Because I'm a coach and I'm offering a premium service at a premium price. Nobody's gonna pay that if you're looking raggedy online and you're not consistent and that sort of thing. So I did understand, the polished and professional look thing, but like domain name and getting my documents set up with the county and things like that. So I didn't have a lot of expenses up front.
Okay.
But again, it was a new expense, and needing to make enough to put money back into the business. So I also, I saved. So again, I had graduated last year, this is 2018 in May. And in August, I put my resignation in with my paid internship. They were going to offer me a job offer. And it was hard. Most people my age, normal people, a rational mind would just go to law school, Amber, would just go get the job. Like, you're young, but honestly, Jay, I heard from God, and I no longer subscribe to these beliefs that these norms, like, you just hate your job for 8 hours a day and then you can have the rest of your life. And then it's like, and then trading my time for money, it wasn't fulfilling. Like, I literally felt like I was dying at my desk. I'm shrinking, and I know I was made for so much more. And it's like, I had a risk appetite. Like, I was 23 years old. And so I just go back at that to say, in that season, I remember having a graduation party. I was already thinking about these things. I didn't tell anybody. I saved money for my graduation party. Like, I hustled. I bootstrapped my way. At one point, I humbled myself and went and drove Uber, delivered some pizzas. One thing I had to learn was in this game of purpose, this life of purpose, if you're seriously purpose driven, pride has no place in a life consumed with purpose. And that's, I really had to hold on to that, because it wasn't looking like what I thought it should. And I had to pivot. I mean, even after Scholarship Fest, I had buyers at my hands, like my target buyers, right? And they were parents. That's only one of my customer segments. I have multiple. I have 3 customer segments. Believe it or not, the parents at first were fickle. They weren't trying to pay me. They wanted to pick my brain for free. And they wanted me to sit. They didn't write because they weren't used to, I don't know, what have you. But I had to make money because I was pressed. So I pivoted. I went to colleges and universities, who already have budgets to pay me. So now they're calling me and hiring me to come in. But what I realized was, I said the parents were fickle, playfully. But what I realized is that segment, that customer segment requires more nurturing, because they need to understand the value of their investment. They like what I'm doing, but to get them to pull out their checkbook, gotta do a little bit more nurturing, right? And so these are just things I learned: pivoting, swallowing my pride, but just being. Oh man, I still do that. If you don't die to flesh every day, I don't know if you're growing and moving.
That's it. Now, you touched on something that was very important. And it's funny because my oldest daughter right now, she's just graduated. She's a year out, and she's talking about, Dad, I don't know if I want to stay in corporate or do my own thing. But I think what she's going to do in her industry, she's trying to get some more hard skills before she steps out on her own. I said, hey, leverage wherever you are or wherever you're going to be. And when you're ready, you're ready.
Yes.
So when you did your scholarship fest, how did you get the people there and how did you finance that? Where'd you say, was that a library or?
It was at a library.
Okay. So you didn't really have to pay too much for that?
No, it wasn't expensive. I think my cost there was about, what was it, $250? It wasn't expensive at all. No. Yeah.
Now, how about bringing in the people? How did you manage to do that?
Yeah, so I went and did like what I would call an integrated marketing approach. So a combination of traditional and then more, I guess, modern approaches. So I did direct marketing. Like I literally made a list. Who is the ideal person that needs to be in this room? So basically I went by way of my professional network. I live in a small town, not too big of a region. People know my name. I've established a presence and a name for myself, and people already see me as an authority in my space. And so it was literally a matter of leveraging my resources. So I didn't necessarily have startup capital, but I did have contacts and community. And so I leveraged that. I did email marketing. That's helped me start building my list. I did social media, mainly LinkedIn and Facebook. Facebook is a who you know network. It has the share feature. Make one good viral post and you're solid. I did traditional media. I did flyers. I rode around in my car and went to every block and made sure every hair salon, every barbershop knew about Scholarship Fest. I did radio interviews. I really just leaned on my resources because I was a lean business. And I needed to maintain or save whatever money I could to put into the event and get ready to coach afterwards.
Right. So I want another light bulb to go off to the BEB family. Once again, a lot of times we don't have the money, but you have resources, sweat equity, putting the work in. And if you're not willing to do that, if you just sat back and said, oh man, I don't have the money to get this event together, it would have never started and your business wouldn't be where it is now. So, there's no excuses, family. Whatever, we all have some type of sweat equity available in us to get out there and hustle to make things happen. So when you're looking for the perfect opportunity, it's not going to be there. You have to create that opportunity. So I commend you with man, I'm telling you, powerful. I just love the story. When I see young brothers and sisters out there doing what they're supposed to be doing, following their assignment, man, that just fills my heart up, man. Now let me ask you, Amber, you said you have 3 segments that you market to. Can you tell us a little bit about, and I guess that's your monetization. So can you tell us your monetization in those 3 different segments?
Yes. So I'll tell you the customer segment and the value proposition to that segment. So I'll start with parents. Parents are customer segment. The value that they see and what I offer is, hey, if I invest, say, $1,500 in hiring a scholarship coach, she's going to save me tens of thousands of dollars in college expenses because my kid is now going to go out and earn all these scholarships. And so specifically parents who make above an annual income of $60,000, because it's parents who are able to afford this service, but specifically who see the value in the investment. Like I already intended on paying a portion of my child's education, but if I make this investment, not only will it save me money, but it will develop my child professionally. Because with my coaching program, it's an integrated coaching approach. So I use a curriculum, and again, scholarships for me is the surface level, but it's more of it's more things. It's the students learn personal branding. They learn networking. I introduce them to that concept, and I make it very realistic to them. So it wouldn't necessarily be tell an 18-year-old you need to be at all these networking events. It's no, understand that relationships run the world. Does your guidance counselor know you? You know them, but do they know you? So when the opportunity crosses their desk, whose name comes to mind? So it's very integrated, and the parent sees value in that investment. So that's the first segment. The second is colleges and university. Specifically, 4-year private and colleges are my targets because they have a challenge retaining students. They have a retention issue. So the value proposition is hiring this outside scholarship coach or bringing her in some way to coach or facilitate programming for our students brings us tuition revenue, but it allows us to retain our students. They have a challenge retaining students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds, and they transfer after the first or second year because they can't afford to be there.
Right.
Yeah. So I literally make them money, right? I bring you tuition revenue because your students are finding scholarships they're actually eligible for, right?
Right.
Not going to these big search engines and getting overwhelmed and discouraged because it's like, is this one real? And they're only
Right.
picking one student out of the whole world for that scholarship. So, colleges and universities are my second segment. My third segment are scholarship providers themselves.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Particularly the smaller ones. So they're the ones who probably award $10,000 or less, $10,000 to $15,000 or less annually.
Okay.
The challenge they have is literally marketing their scholarship.
Okay.
Like getting students to apply for the scholarship. So they see the Scholarship Queen as a partner, as another resources to help them connect with students who are actually eligible to apply for my scholarship. So what I love about what I do is I teach students how to build a scholarship network, how to get to the point where scholarships find you. And so what that means is there are scholarships. Everybody's not eligible for the same scholarships. Right. There are scholarships for military kids. There are scholarships for students who grew up in foster care. There are students only for African-American females. Finding those and being able to compete because you have a better chance at getting them. So the scholarship providers who offer those, they want to connect directly to the audience. They don't need to market to everybody.
Right.
And so
makes sense.
Not only am I a scholarship coach, I'm a marketer, right? I studied marketing in college. Right. This is what I do. My professional background is in marketing. And so again, they are another segment. So typically what that looks like is bringing me in to facilitate an information session, but really what we're doing is promoting their scholarship.
Sure. Gotcha. See, now, did you have those 3 different segments when you started, or was that something that was developed after you got into the business?
Developed after I got in because I started learning. I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought that parents, I mean, it makes most sense. Where are the parents who can pay me? But what I realized is they need a little bit more nurturing. Okay, but I'm still pressed to monetize and people do like what I do. So how do I make this work? And so then it became colleges and universities. But from there, what I realized, because now I'm immersed in this ecosystem, I started learning more, and I'm a problem solver by nature. I'm an entrepreneur. And I started just listening, just honestly listening and stop assuming that I knew everything. I had to check some of my assumptions. And as I listened to my peers who work in the same space as me, play on the same playground, what educators and scholarship providers would tell me, I would apply that to what I was doing. So scholarship providers would tell me, listen, we went from getting 200 plus applications to maybe 20 to 30. What is going on in today's age with today's youth? And so that's what I would hear, these common themes, and I could say, oh, how could I could provide a value there. I already do this. I'm a marketer. And so to answer your question, it came by way as I got more and more involved in what I was doing.
Right. And that's what I was kind of getting, making a point or two before. So before you get in business, a lot of times you'll have these assumptions, but once you get in there and start mixing around, then you'll really find out what's going to happen. But the only way to do that is get into the business. So you're never going to know everything. You're always going to be in a constant learning situation. Now, so do you get for your third vertical, the scholarship providers? So do they pay you to come or use, to speak about their scholarships, or how do you monetize that aspect of that vertical?
So I haven't quite monetized that segment just yet. I've only worked with that part of my business model. I'm still figuring out. So right now it has been, I have monetized them, but not in the way that I know I can. So what I mean is they participate in Scholarship Fest, the conference, by being a vendor. Right? Because I give them access to their target audience. So they pay to participate in my conference. I give them access to hundreds of students, right? Who are actually eligible for their scholarships. Because it's one thing to go to college fairs and it's like, we have a scholarship for young Black males between this, and no Black male is in the room. Right. So I have their audience. And so at this point, that's what that looks like. Still figuring out what is there more value that I could offer them? Is it more ways that we can work together and I'm able to monetize it?
Okay. Now with the first segment with the parents, now you touched on something, the $1,500, and it's parents that make over $65,000. You figured out what the avatar is. Now say a parent or parents come to you and they don't have $1,500. Are there other options like a DIY or something that you can give them to help them? And what would that be?
Yes, I typically do consultations, phone ones, typically 15 minutes, and those
Okay.
are free. And I let them know, and I tell them, I won't waste your time, so don't waste mine. And I
I
tell them
see.
to come with questions, prepared. I give away a lot of free information.
Right.
Do, and I make myself available and able to be accessed. But I actually had to create boundaries because I was doing it so much that people weren't paying me. Like I was just giving. But to answer your question, what I try to do is reach those, figure out where are those community of students concentrating, because it's not just one parent who can't afford it. It's not just two parents. And what I try to do is figure out who can be my customer for that consumer. So typically it's the school district who can afford to contract with me and create programming for those students. So typically when parents approach me, honestly, I try to answer as much of their questions and guide them and send them other resources. Because what I also realized is my parent was that parent. My parent probably was likely not able to afford to, invest that kind of money for me in a coaching program. And I didn't have a scholarship coach. The scholarship queen did not have a scholarship coach, right? So I say that to say it can be done. You can do it yourself. And so I just try to just tell them realistically, because everybody's situation is different. Just try to advise them on where they are. Coaching is not a blanket kind of an offering. Like I try to listen and just really advise on where they are. And they find that to be really valuable and really appreciative and pay me back with referrals and testimonials and all that. Yeah.
So let me ask you, because I get this a lot too. And I try to be as accessible as possible. And I do a lot of things for free. Like I was in Detroit a couple of weeks ago at a talk, and I gave people my cell phone number. Hey, if you need to connect with me, whatever. It was a smaller group. I couldn't do that in front of, 200 people or whatever, but it was a smaller group, but it was a good group. And I said, hey, reach out to me. I'm here for you. And so I try to be accessible, but how do you draw that line? So, because there are people, like you said, that, you want to help, but you figuratively and literally can't help everybody because you don't have that much time in the day. So how do you draw that line?
Now that I'll start with your question. I draw the line. To be honest, I typically have not had to draw the line as much. I'm trying to recall on an actual example because honestly, Jay, as many times as I give out my number and email, most people don't follow through.
I hear you.
And so I'm glad that I kind of do set those. I don't just say, I'll give you an hour of my time and we can talk, because I was wasting my time. And so and I realized, okay, I'm glad you didn't, because you're probably not my ideal customer. But what I do is, now that I'm more active on social media, I try to be able to give out as much and make myself accessible that way.
Gotcha.
I typically don't have to. Like I typically, again, just try to answer like questions and try to direct people to different resources. And that typically ends well. Like I typically don't have to. At least not right now. I guess I should start thinking about, in the case that I should start thinking forward about if and when that happens.
Okay. Now that makes a lot of sense. So what do you think is your most effective marketing technique?
My most effective marketing technique is when people experience the Scholarship Queen in person or hear my voice in some way. For whatever reason, that is not for whatever reason. I know it's more powerful. I used to underestimate how powerful things that I say and the way I show up, my presence was. For me, that's the most powerful marketing technique, because my story is a message that resonates with somebody else. And until I have the courage to tell the story, no one thinks that their story is worth sharing or they could overcome and those sort of things. So for me, when I get to interview on podcasts, when I get to speak, when I get to do things like that, it's like I get like, man, the business is great. It's like I don't have to figure out who's going to be my social media manager and who's going to do this and who. But don't get me wrong, again, I'm a marketer, so like integrated marketing approaches, figuring out how do I reach my ideal audience, where are they hanging out, how do I get in the room. I'll say people experiencing the Scholarship Queen, but also maintaining relationships. So I'm always at my business model canvas. I rarely like spend a lot of time doing an actual like 30-page business plan. When I need to, I'll work on those things. But business is always changing. So I like the business model canvas. And there's there's a category that talks about key activities. relationship building is key for me. Like that is one of my biggest ways of marketing my business. Being able to have relationships with education influencers in Western New York, in my region, being able to have relationships with superintendents. Like for me, I still go to networking events, but more strategically. Right. Like I don't go just to show face and hand out my card. Like I move with a lot more class now. Right. Right. I do because I'm just very intentional. And I know that at this point, again, early on, my time is all I have. Like I don't have a 9 to 5 to fall back on. Like I have to be intentional with my time. So I use a number of different marketing channels. I'm more active on social media now. I remember people would say, why haven't I found Scholarship Queen online? Right. And I would feel terrible because it's true. But when you understand that I was pressed to monetize, right? Right. And I understand how my cash flows to me. I wasn't making money online. Right. Was not making money online. When I look back on data and say, how did my customer find me? The people who paid me, they didn't find me online. It's nice that they could find me online, but they heard it from their colleague. They saw me speaking here. So a number of different marketing channels, but experiencing Scholarship Queen and building relationships, networking.
All right. That's what's up. Now, we all know, Amber, that business doesn't always go straight to the top. Can you share a time with us where you had some issues or some setbacks in your business, what that specifically was and how you overcame it, or if you didn't overcome it and what happened with that? So you can share a little bit with that with us.
There was a time where my largest client could have put me out of business for paying me 2 months late.
Wow.
So when you dive in, they always say entrepreneurship is jumping off a cliff and building your balloon on the way down. Yeah. Literally, you're going to get the scrapes and the bruises. So there were just things that I underestimated, things I didn't even think about. Having money on reserves, a small principle like that. So the challenge was literally I was paid 2 months late, a significant amount of money that could have wiped me completely out. Now, because I'm Scholarship Queen, I could have found my way back because, again, I had traction, but it was like, again, I don't have a 9 to 5 or this or that. Like I'm all in at this point, everything. I'm an early stage business. And so for me, it caused me to ask myself, why am I depending on one client to hold my business down? Why am I depending on this or that? And what I realized was at that stage in my business, I don't have a business. I have a job. I am self-employed. I have not graduated to yes, I own the business, but I'm still in that quadrant of self-employment. This is my job. And so that just caused me to start moving differently and really just making investments that could help me build out this business model so it could be much more sustainable. So I enrolled myself in what's called Small Business Summer School. This summer, actually, I graduated from Small Business Summer School, we would go there every week and we essentially walk through the business model canvas. But that was my way of saying this will never happen again. Because man, being put out of business and you don't have a 9 to 5 to go to, this is not a side hobby. This is not a hustle. This is what I do.
Exactly.
So that I'm grateful I was able to come. I did end up getting the check. But another thing that I learned was to understand the factors around my revenue stream. So for that particular client, it was a community-based, so they were a community partner. They paid me to come in and do programming for their audience, but their funding source is a grant. Gotcha. Right. And I don't know if anybody's familiar with how grants work in the grant world, but you get them when you get them. State funding, government funding, you get them when you get them. So I don't get to send them a late fee and say, because you paid late, you owe me this amount of money. No, I'm just asked out. So, but just understanding that. Now, if I'm going to continue to do business with this character of clients, and I need to know that up front, so I'm not all mad and out of business and going crazy. It's no, it comes with the territory. So just things I had to learn. I'm grateful that I was able to overcome that because I had other streams of revenue, other kinds of clients, but that was my largest client. Yeah. I could have been back at my desk, but and not the one in my home, but the desk that I left last summer.
Yeah, back at working for corporate America. And it's funny because we always say one is the worst number in business. So if you got one income stream or one big client and you lose that, your ass out, excuse the French. But so Amber, you got to have a tremendous story. Let me ask you, what motivates you to get up and do what you do every day? What's that spark? Is that your assignment? Do you feel this is your assignment or part of it?
I do. I truly feel compelled. I think this is my current assignment. Now, keep in mind, when I was younger, I never said, when I grew up, I want to be a scholarship coach. When I grew up, I want to be the scholarship queen. I'm
Right.
a problem solver by nature. And I saw a problem, and I really believed in the value that I had to offer. But to your question, what motivates me? It's a combination between pain and passion, right?
Okay.
I'm very passionate about, again, self-enrichment and education and Black excellence and all these things I'm passionate about. But I think pain, the things that really set our hearts on fire, cause us to move too. So
Right.
the example I give, outside of scholarship coaching, I lead a fabulous tribe, an organization called Charm School for Sisters,
Oh,
where
cool.
we teach African-American girls self-love, sisterhood, and success skills. And so how did I start Charm School? And I started writing the curriculum my freshman year at Howard, and I had already started doing it. So that was kind of another means of making money outside of scholarship coaching for me. But what caused me to do that? Well, it sets my mind on fire. It makes my skin crawl to continue to know that Black women, Black girls are conditioned to believe that they are less than in this world, that they are ugly, that they are inferior, that, you know, messages from everywhere around the world, like it does something to me. Like I have to move. So I just say that to say, like, it's a combination between pain and passion that motivates me. And I just know that I've always known that I was purpose. Like I remember daydreaming when I was a little girl, like all the things I want for my life. And I didn't know the concept of manifesting, but essentially that's what I was doing, like envisioning and daydreaming and seeing myself and seeing things and literally thinking these things into existence. So that causes me to move. Just knowing that I have a purpose, knowing that there's an audience waiting to hear my voice, that there's a little girl who needs to hear my story, that there's someone who needs to know that this mountain could be moved because Amber did it.
Exactly. And when you get to that space, and this is what I try to explain to a lot of people when we talk about pinpoint and monetize your genius. When you're working within that genius space, you can't even describe it because you're working with purpose, you're working with passion, you're doing something that fulfills you. I mean, I don't know how many people I talk to all the time that say, man, I can't stand my job. They're waiting, they're counting the days down for the weekend. You know, oh, hump day is Wednesday. Man, it's Thursday. I got 2 more days left. And then Sunday night, which is heart attack night because people are so stressed because they got to go back to work on Monday morning, you know, and that's just the cycle. And so I tell people there's a better way to do it. I said, if you're systematic about it, if you truly want it, just like you wanted to stay in school, you went to class for 3 months without being registered. That tells me that that's what you wanted to do. And so when I hear people, you know, making excuses, so we talked about like time vampires a little earlier about, so people don't suck your time. So I'll tell people, look, here's my number. We decide on a time to, you know, connect. Call me at 1:00. And I don't even, you know, take their number most of the time. You know, I'll be like, all right, this must be the person. You don't call me. Guess what? I'm not calling you because I'm trying to impart information and education or whatever to you and level you up. So, yeah, you know what I mean? So do you really want it? And that's one of the biggest issues. People talk about it, but are you ready to boss up and do it? Mm-hmm. And so when you find young brothers and sisters like yourself, Elijah Tyson, a lot of the other people I have on the show, I just, my heart goes out because I see me in you guys years ago when people thought I was an idiot. Now, entrepreneurship has been cool. But when I started, it was like, yo, you leaving Merrill Lynch to do what? You know, and I'm like, yeah, but that was something that I knew that was in me. And anytime you find as a person that you recognize and understand that there's something higher that's calling you, and you find that there's a better way to take care of yourself and your family, you can't fight that. And so when you look at people, you know, my age that's been working in corporate America for 25 years and they can't stand their job, I'm like, I don't understand that. But, you know, it's not for me to understand everything, but there's ways to incorporate passion, talent, and monetization. And that's what that episode 199 is about. Let me ask you, Amber, you had mentioned something too. We talked about time. how are you, because it's only 24 hours in a day. I know you're young and you probably can work 23, but but how are you monetizing outside of the actual consulting and physical events? Do you have any passive monetization?
Not for scholarship coaching yet.
Okay.
And that is where, moving forward, that is where my mind is. So specifically in the platform part of the Pinpoint Monetize Your Genius tool, like what is your platform?
Cool. Right.
Or what is it? The platform is the other one. The bottom
Right.
quadrant
So,
where we're talking about monetization. Right. Will it be books? Will it be a digital course? Will it be like, what will that be? So right. that's where my mind is now, because right now it is labor intensive. And gotcha. I do realize I will not scale like this.
Right.
I will not scale. So November will make a full year. And it's so I keep talking about symbols. November is National Scholarship Month, and that's when the Scholarship Queen, the business, was born. It's amazing. And so, but moving forward past this year, it's like, okay, I am not going to keep like tying my time to this, because right. I left a job doing that. I could have stayed there. They were paying me more, honestly. Right. I left a higher paying job to do this. Right. Right. I think not. And so, I am working on some things. So there are a number of different ways to reach my audience. It's amazing. Just repurposing and remonetizing a piece of value that I already create. And I love it because I can reach millions of students. That's powerful to me. Millions of students across the globe with the help of digital products and just, again, different sorts of mediums of reaching them without necessarily me showing up somewhere.
Physically showing up.
Physically. So at this point, no, but that is where my mind is thinking forward to scale this business.
Cool. And I want to just note on that. So when you start a business, let the light bulb go off, family. Amber is in transition. She's starting out. You're figuring things out. You're doing a great job, but you recognize and understand that you can't keep running like this and scale your business. So now the thought process goes to how can I scale and how can I, not trade hours for dollars. And that's all part of the process. So one of the things that I always talk about, one of my episodes was called the freedom equation. And that was cash flow plus passive income equals freedom. And that's eventually where you want to go, because at that point, you can focus your attention and do the things that, you want to do. And you don't have to necessarily worry about the monetization aspect. So if you're a philanthropist or you want to do, outreach work, or you want to, do charity work, if you have the cash flow and you have the passive income, that equals your freedom. So you're free to do anything that you want to do. And it's funny. One of the things that really got me onto that years ago is my partner and I, my business partner, my ex-business partner, we were in the mortgage business. We were looking to buy a RE/MAX franchise, and we had to meet. Man, I don't know why we were buying it in Jersey, but we're in Philly. But you go right over the bridge, you're in Camden, and But this guy was a regional director of RE/MAX, so it was about 95 degrees that day. So we all suited up, sweating like a pig, and we go to this cat's office, and he actually ran over 30 offices in South Jersey. So partner and I all suited up. He comes in with flip-flops, a tank top, and I think he must have been going to the beach, because he also had swimming trunks on. He says, "Hey guys, how you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. And so we started talking, and he was like, "Yeah, I own about 25 RE/MAX franchises." He said, "I'm a licensed realtor and a broker, but I really don't do anything except my managers run all my offices." And he was like, "I'm free to pretty much do whatever I want." So that's why he could come in like that. But being able to have that freedom to be able to do what you want. And you don't have kids yet, but when you have kids, that's really important. And that was the biggest thing about what really I enjoyed about entrepreneurship. I was able to build something that allowed me the flexibility and freedom to spend time with, with my family and my kids when they playing field hockey and all of that stuff. And so that's a blessing. So
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
I was listening last night to the recent episode where we looked through Master P's. That episode, and it's something exactly what you just said. You reiterated in that episode, and it just reminded me that's what entrepreneurship is for me. It is an opportunity to create the world that I want to live in. It's an opportunity to create the lifestyle that I want. I've always been an architect of my own mind. Like I went to an engineering high school, but entrepreneurship is the means to actually do that. Like it's how you do it.
Exactly. So if you want, and that's why I tell people, if you have that freedom and flexibility, it's very hard to go back to, God forbid, you got to go back to corporate because you're used to running your own thing. And also it's a control factor. So when we finish here today, I'm actually going to be doing putting up a video, the Amber Geiger situation, the young lady that killed the brother, right, in Dallas. So I'm watching this video about the sister that made the video, not the actual killing, but right after it. I forgot the young lady's name, and how she lost her job because people were people were lashing out at her because they thought she was like a pro-black activist and a anti-police or whatever. She ended up losing her job. She had a side business and she had a Facebook page and an Instagram page. I think she was selling T-shirts.
Okay.
They got shut down because, terms of service. Her accreditation in her business, I forgot what she was in, pharmaceutical sales, that got revoked. So now, because she didn't control her revenue streams and income, it got shut down. She was on Facebook and Instagram. I always talk about that's somebody else's platform. They can shut you down when they want to shut you down. Her main income came from her job. That got shut down, not because she did anything wrong, but because she decided to speak out, against what she saw. And that got shut down. So when you lack control, that's when you become beholden to others. So entrepreneurship not only can create the freedom, it can create the control that you're not going to be beholden to anybody else. And you can live based on your terms and be able to have the values regardless of what they may be. And nobody can take that away from you. So that's why. Well, a lot of times people ask me about some of my brands that I sell online. I really don't tell a lot of people because if they know, they can sabotage it. Oh, this dude is talking this black power, black entrepreneur stuff. 20 people over here and give them bad reviews. So, So like I said, so that way I have control over my income, which basically equates to control and freedom, for myself and my family. So I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but that's what it's all about. Entrepreneurship, if it's done correctly, can be such a tool and an asset that, you not just only affect yourself, like what you're doing, you're affecting the lives of students all over the country, probably all over the world with what you're doing. So I commend you for that because it's not just about making money. It's about a purpose, your story. Using your story and your history from what you went through and taking that bad time when you were in class for 3 months. I don't know how you made the professor.
Man, that exactly. Listen, sitting in class, stomach growling. Listen,
right.
But I will never forget what it felt like to hear my academic advisor tell me, you need to quit school until you can afford it. Like I will never, straight A Amber, like I will never forget what that felt like. And so to be able to move through that and to just focus on the mission of graduating and not all the mess around me, I never want another student to feel what I felt like.
Exactly.
Like to be literally denied education. So it's just back to your point. It's a purpose to it. I never want another student to feel like that.
Yeah. It's bigger than that. And so you're helping other people and, let them progress up the ladder. And that's what it's all about. Because I tell people there's a lot of stages in entrepreneurship. And one of the first stages is making money because you have to sustain yourself. I get that. But I said, after a while, when you figure out how to make this money and your money is stacking up, your mindset changes, or it should change, hopefully. Now, okay, I got this figured out. Now, how can I be a blessing or how can I help others? First, the first law is, self-preservation. So you got to make sure you're eating because if you can't eat, you can't feed anybody else. But after you get to a certain point, now it's about, how do I turn this around and how do I give back to others? And so you've actually started that process when you started your business, which is really a little bit uncommon because a lot of people don't think about other people. They think about just let me eat first. But what you're doing, your mission, is tied into helping other people. So that's a blessing. And I'm telling you, I think it's a great opportunity that, like you said, the riches in the niches or niches, as they say, but it's a great opportunity. And what you're doing is a blessing to people that need that. So with your experience, Amber, where do you see yourself in your business in 5 years, if you can project that far down?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 5 years from now.
Gonna be running for president?
You know what's crazy? When I was younger, people always told me that. Like you will be in I think at one point, it was first it was president of the United States, then it was Supreme Court justice, and there were all these things. And what I realized is I'll just be supreme at wherever God places me.
That's what's up.
That's not the calling on my life, not in this lifetime.
There you go.
Where do I see myself in my business in 5 years? So I'm thinking, because this is something that I actually think a lot about, and something I've had to do is be very open-minded, still be goal-oriented,
right?
But open-minded. And so where I see myself is still building my brand, first of all, as the scholarship queen, still developing myself and reaching more audiences and gaining more authority in that space, because I want to be able to establish bigger partnerships with bigger brands who support education. And I mean consumer brands, right? Not just people who play in the education playground, but there's sports brands and all sorts of other brands who have, scholarship objectives in their mission. And so 5 years from now, I see myself stepping outside of the business. So not just having a job, but stepping outside of the business, like time-wise, and being able to move around the world. I see myself as a speaker and a coach with global impact. And so I'm being very vague, but very specific. Like the specifics are around the reaching more people with this message, and not just scholarship coaching. As the scholarship queen, but in other areas, I've had the opportunity to speak to so many different audiences. So whether it's youth empowerment or young women and girls, but just continuing to develop myself. Because one thing I realized is I feel like I was kind of like in a rush. So, I have way more tomorrows ahead of me than yesterday, right? And so sometimes I had to tell myself to slow down and really enjoy the process of stepping in, becoming. I love how Michelle Obama teaches us about becoming, but becoming is a journey, right? So that's where I see myself. Definitely stepping out, scale this business, stepping outside of it. So not so time and labor intensive, but reaching students and communities across the globe.
Okay. That's what's up. Do you have any employees now, or you doing everything pretty much on your own?
So I have team members who I will pay for jobs, so stipends or freelance projects, but I have no employees full-time other than myself. Gotcha. I can't afford employees at this point.
No, I understand. You're out there getting it. It takes time.
There are a lot of resources though to access labor, like these online platforms. Whether it's I actually stopped using Fiverr because there's the one that you put us onto. Yeah, this is one you put us onto. Yeah, because if I'm be spending money, I might as well spend money with my own people. Come on.
That's the reason I created hireblackfreelancers.com is because I was looking I'm like, man, I'm going over to Bangladesh or whatever, getting stuff done. And I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. Now, I may have to pay a little more for somebody in the States, but that's okay because I couldn't find certain freelancers. And I started it because I couldn't find a videographer. And I'm like, man, anybody know a good videographer? So when I travel, I just found one when I was in Detroit. I have people come out, local videographers come out and record the stuff. So, but yeah, it was just crazy. I'm like, man, I got to stop spending money with, people wherever they are when I can spend it with my own people. That's all I talk about, Black economic empowerment. And if I'm over there talking right and doing left, you know what I mean? That doesn't stand up. So, so let me ask you, Amber, before we close on out, how can people get a hold of you? And if do you have any events coming up or anything coming up? So just tell us, share all your contact information and any events and stuff that you have coming up.
Yes. So you can find the Scholarship Queen online, Instagram at the Scholarship Queen, and Facebook. We have a business Facebook page at the Scholarship Queen. Also, you can find Amber at Business Amber. So both of those, at Business Amber and at the Scholarship Queen, are my social handles. I'm also on LinkedIn. My first name is Amber. My last name is Quinney. So upcoming, so fourth quarter for Scholarship Queen, I'm on a scholarship tour locally.
Oh, cool.
So if you are in Western New York, whether that's Buffalo, surrounding areas, at Erie Community College, and this is all information you can find out online, but Erie Community College, most of the SUNY schools, a couple private colleges, again, all information you can find online. Medaille College, I'm talking off the top of my head, so
no problem.
But I know, again, if you're in Western New York, Medaille College, University at Buffalo, Erie Community College, North and South Campus, University at Buffalo. The Scholarship Queen will be on your campus. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to meet you. But from there, I'll be wrapping up the year and just really getting ready to move forward into the new decade, into 2020. And so my speaking engagements will likely end in mid-November. I want to give myself time to recharge and refill. Right. I want to burn myself out and get ready to pilot in 2020. All
right. Now, for people that are outside of New York or the Northeast, tell them what SUNY means, because a lot of people may not know.
So right. I'm talking to a global audience. And I'm speaking Western New York jargon, right? So SUNY stands for the State University at New York. So essentially, these are all the state colleges and state universities in New York. What I will say is that while the Scholarship Queen resides in Western New York, the Scholarship Queen travels, right? So I had the opportunity to speak at a scholarship fundraiser down in DC twice this year. Really, again, with this business, I've literally moved by way of my network. And so I grew up in Buffalo, but I lived in DC, went to school in DC. I went to school in California. I lived in Atlanta. Like, I've used all of my resources, my contacts, and most of them were fellowships. I had 9 different internships throughout college. Oh, wow. Like, I continue to rely on those scholarship providers. The ones who gave me money love what I'm doing. They're now my partners. Hopefully my customers soon, but they are now my partners. So I go back to them in all these different regions, mostly in the U.S. And so please don't think that the Scholarship Queen is siloed in Western New York.
Worldwide, right?
Worldwide, baby.
I mean, that's it, worldwide, baby. I'm telling you. Oh, man. So now, Amber, is there anything I forgot to ask you that you want to share with the BEB family?
Anything that you forgot to ask me.
Or that you want to share?
Yeah, let me say this. As you are, wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn was to not let my ego and emotions get in the way of being an entrepreneur. Business is business. Mm-hmm. Business is business. And a lot of times it's just purpose-driven people. We get so caught up in just being people, and we're human, but business is business. And so as I think back, I reflect a lot on what did I learn in my experiences. One thing was just being able to manage my ego and my emotions, and not to let those two things make decisions for me. I'll share this. This is a personal testament real quick. I'll share this. So in the middle of my first year, I call it my freshman year of full-time entrepreneurship, I got an offer from a competitor, essentially, education foundation, to come work for them. And they offered me 6 figures. And I told them no. Now, in hindsight, this is where this lesson comes from. What I realized is I made a very emotional decision, right? I decided out of emotion. Some of my thoughts were, and I did do an actual pros and cons and think through it, but some of my thoughts, which were very, I think just really naive, they're trying to buy me out. If they want to pay me $100,000, what are they really making off me? And And the reality is that is very valid, right? A conversation on worth, but I'm 24 years old. To me, making that from one stream of income, it ain't bad. It doesn't have to be married to the organization forever, but, more strategically, being about my business. And so, again, just the ego and emotion thing. And then lastly, one thing that I always love to share, I love to dispel this myth that growth is glamorous. Please understand, if you're not failing, you're not growing. If you're not failing, you're not growing. Growth is not glamorous, and entrepreneurship is not sexy, but it is darn worth it. And I do know that. And that's why I continue to get up and do what I do. So just know that failing, it's the falling down. Like that's why we call it growing pains. And so something that I continue to tell myself is, don't fear failing, fear not flying, because you were scared to fail.
Exactly. That's it. Light bulb goes off, BEB family, and that's what it is. It's the process, and failing and getting stopped along the way. That's part of the process. So, but just recognize and understand that, because we're normally taught, obviously, not to fail in everything that we do. But it's funny, a conversation I had with my wife years ago, because I'm a serial entrepreneur, and she was like, dude, you sure you're good at this? And I'm like, nah, I'm getting better, right? I said, but it's a process. I said, so if multi-million-dollar businesses can go out of business, why can't Jay Jones? All right, I don't have the resources. And I said, these are companies with boards of directors, CEOs, millions of dollars, and they're going out of business. So I don't feel bad if something happens in one of my businesses, because I understand it's the process. Mm-hmm. And so I used to, always tell, and I still tell my girls this, I said, you have to embrace the process. So in order to be great in anything you do, even though if you're a boxer, you don't like running, you don't like all the training, but you need to be able to embrace that process, because you take care of the process. What's going to happen is what's supposed to happen. So if you can't embrace that process and make fun out of the process, then you're not going to be successful. And it's all about right here in your, do you really want it? Nobody's going to give it to you. All right, Amber, you're a BEB family member, so I know you're probably prepared for this last question. I got it written down.
Wait, it's one of two. One of two. I'm not sure which one you're going for.
I know you probably got them both written down, but
I do.
That's it. So if you had the opportunity to talk to one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I thought it was the books question. Okay.
Oh, no.
I was ready for both.
Okay. There you go. I like that preparation.
Yeah. Opportunity favors those who are prepared, family.
What's up?
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. And why would that be?
Yeah, Malcolm X is one of my heroes. When I graduated on Malcolm X's birthday, after all I have fought through, I said, wow, God knew what God was doing.
That's it.
Wow. But one thing, so in his letter from the Mecca, when he went and visited the Mecca, I've always wondered, because if for anybody who's ever read through the letter, Malcolm X had a change of heart. He just had experiences, different experiences, engaging with people who look like white, black, blue, whatever. He had a change of mindset. And so I always wonder how our world would have been different if he lived a little longer. I'd love to speak with him about how would you fight for your people different? In what ways did that really change you? Not just shift your spiritual outlook, but how would you seek liberation differently? How would you, because he even saw white people different. Like he saw it changed him. And I don't know that he lived long enough for us to really feel the impact of that. So I love to have a conversation with Malcolm X. I sometimes think I am when I'm reading his books.
I know.
I feel his impact and his influence and his presence throughout this world.
Definitely. Yep. You're actually the first person that said Malcolm X. That's a great answer. Great man, great cause. He knew what his assignment was. And it's funny, guys, sometimes your assignment, you may not necessarily think you're prepared for your assignment. So you look at Moses in the Bible, he was like, me, God, how am I going to free these people? But that was his assignment. So your assignment may not be something that you particularly are fond of, but you know that that's what you're supposed to be doing. So I'll give you a perfect example. Like me, now on the show, I'm a little different than I am in person, right? Because I'm a jokester, right? Like my kids are like, oh, Dad, just silly. So I'm a clown, right? And so on the show, obviously, I can't be that. I'll say a couple of things. I'm a little quirky, but I really don't like to be out front. I like to be behind the scenes. So I like to be the guy that's the operations guy that's doing stuff. So this is something, my assignment, Black economic empowerment, it makes me now have to be out in the front, which I really don't care to be quite honest, in terms of, notoriety. It's funny. I got somebody stopped me at the mall the other day, like, yo, Jay. I'm like, oh, damn, I must be doing something. Right. But that's really not me. I'm more behind the scenes and trying to get the real work done. but I understand my assignment because I'm so passionate about Black economic empowerment and my people. I know that in order to lead this movement, that I have to be out there. So that's part of my assignment, even though I don't particularly care for, being my face out there and stuff like that. But I know that's what I need to do to get this thing done. So whatever your assignment is out there, family, make sure that, you don't have to love it all the time, but make sure there's a reason that God or whoever your God force may be, put that in you, be it Allah, be it Buddha, be it, Jesus, whoever, or whatever. If you believe in a higher power, then, there's a reason that's within you. And so our job really, and I think the greatest, and I say this all the time, the highest form of entrepreneurship is actually pinpointing, monetizing your genius, because what you're doing is you're taking what's from within and you're spreading it out, and you've been able to monetize that. So that's really the highest form of entrepreneurship. A lot of people, they'll go and they'll do things because, oh, this sounds good, I can make money. Let me think about, I'm gonna start a coin operated laundry because that can make money. Are you passionate about that? Probably not, but you're looking at the money. So when you can combine that passion and talent, like Amber has done, and she's going to go on to do many, many big things. I can tell you that right now. The hustle, the commitment, and one of the things I must say, your clarity for being so young and for understanding where you want to be and how to get there. I commend you on that, because you've turned down, how many, you're 23, 24 right now? Yeah, yes. You would turn down 6-figure opportunities at that age for something greater? Not many.
That's right. At this point, it's like, it has to work. I just walked away from it's either going to work or it's going to work.
Yeah.
But it's always going to work in my favor. That's what I believe. So I'll take the trials. Because those are my lessons.
Exactly.
That's how I learn.
Right. And that's what you build on. You build on those lessons. Right. Yeah. And you always just think now, as you continue to grow your business, people are always going to come at you to come back to go to corporate. So you can always do that. God forbid something happens, because you'll have those hard skills. You're out there building your name, you're building your reputation. And a lot of times that's what companies look for. And you have the talent and the skill set to be successful in corporate America. You just decided to go on your own and do your own thing. And so it's almost like being a trailblazer. And sometimes it's scary. You walk in a tightrope with no net, and you just have to be able to understand that. And I always used to tell my wife, you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And and if you can't do that, then you're probably not built to be an entrepreneur, And what I hate to see, Amber, is I hate to see people with so much inside of them and so much talent and so much, blessings that they could give others by just sharing their story and doing what they're supposed to do. Like if you kept that blessing, your story, which is actually a blessing, you didn't know it at the time when you were going through, right, when you were going through those challenges at Howard without having the money and being registered. If you kept that to yourself, you're not helping anybody. But you shared that and you're transparent with that. And now you're taking those experiences and you're helping others, and not just telling them, you're actually showing them, hey, this is how I did it. And so, I commend you on that. I'm looking for great things from you. So whenever you take your next step or you want to come back on the BEB show, look, you got my number. All right. Anything I can do for you. Yeah. Anything I can do for you, I'm here for you. So BEB family, you know how we do it. Anybody that's on the show, they're on here for a reason, because they've been vetted. They've been doing positive things. So anybody that needs a scholarship, you got the scholarship queen right here, live and in living color. So reach out to her. And what's your email? Your website again?
Yep. LegendaryScholarsAcademy.com. LegendaryScholarsAcademy.com. I tell people what I do is teach students how to tell their legendary stories, because we all have a story, in a meaningful and compelling way, such that somebody wants to cut them a check to go to school.
That's what I'm talking about. I should have met you a little earlier, man. I got my youngest is in her 3rd year. So look, we got to talk.
It's not too late to apply. Huh?
We got to talk, because I'm over here. I'm like, man, I'm writing these checks. I'm like, oh my goodness. And the crazy thing is, like with a private school, and you have kind of mentioned private school. So like my oldest daughter went to Duke, which is a private university. And I'm paying more for University of Virginia, which is a public school, than I did for Duke, which is a private school.
Same case, similar case for me. So I went to 2 expensive private schools. Jay, my first degree cost me $157,000.
Man.
First degree. Now, granted, I didn't pay, right. That wasn't my bill because I'm scholarship queen.
Right.
But I had to say, I went to 2 expensive private schools. I went out of state, right? Tuition was $22K at the time. I came back in-state. You would think in-state would be cheaper. In-state was $36. It cost me $36,000 to sit my tail in the seat. That's not books. That's not room and board. That's not food. That's not transportation. So this is why when I coach students, I coach them on how to be a student also, because you're not going to pay $36,000 and think you're not showing up to class. I don't know how.
Nah,
I don't know where. Parents writing them checks and doing all this other stuff, and they're not even showing up to class.
Nah, that's not
return on investment. That's an investment you're making. So yeah, it's expensive.
It's no joke. I was like, man, I'm sitting here, I'm going through the paperwork. I'm like, all right, now. I said, I'm paying this much for this school. And I'm like, damn. And well, you know, Duke is like, it's funny. They like with their endowment. Oh yeah, you want some more money? And I'm crying, poor mouth, all of that stuff. Look here, can y'all give us some? Oh yeah, we'll give you another $10,000. That'll work. You try that at University of Virginia, they were like, man, you better get out of here. You can't pay, man. Go somewhere else, you know. So, but so I'm dealing with that right now. And it's a big check, man. It's a big check. So anything, you know, like I said, I'm gonna be signing up after we log off.
Hey, there is money on the table. That's why I titled my last series of scholarship camps, Money on the Table. Because I had to kind of really just start where people are. I realized I'm so immersed in what I'm doing. I realized people don't know these things because they didn't live this. Right. I lived through it. So, but I'm able to teach them these things. Like outside of scholarships, just ways of navigating college. I just recently shared a story about how one time at Howard, I remember writing an email to financial aid and I said, hey, my mom and I together have contributed, I think at the time it was like $5,000. Like, this is how much we've come out of pocket. We've done everything we can. I mean, you name it, chicken dinners, whatever. We did everything. Exactly. Like, and so family helped and stuff. And so I asked financial aid. I just thought, like, can you match me? I said, here's my transcript. Here's my track record. This is the kind of student I am. I'm fighting to be here. Can you help me? Do you know, Jay, that I remember being in my communications class. I got an email that said, thank you very much, Amber. We've seen that you've contributed X amount of dollars. We will match you. So your hold is removed and you can go register. But man, I literally had to leave class because I'm just like, wow, it took me out. Like, but it's like, if I'm not willing to self-advocate for myself and fight for it, why do I think anybody else is going to do that?
Exactly. That's a great point. They created
a scholarship for me. Yeah.
That's what's up. Oh yeah, I'll be calling you.
So it's all kinds of tips and trips like that, because it's not always a formal process. Sometimes it's just speaking up.
Right. Yeah. Look, how come I didn't meet you like 3 years ago? You were doing it for yourself then. So that's what's up. Well, Amber, we appreciate you taking time out your busy schedule. The Scholarship Queen, y'all know how we do. Please support Amber and what she's doing, because I'm telling you, it's such a blessing that we had the ability to get you on, and what you're doing is I mean, we need that. Trust me, this is from a father that's paying out the yin yang for these college education. So I definitely feel that. So thank you so much, Amber, and we will be in touch. And let us know when you want to come back on again if you got anything new going on.
I will. Right. Thank you so much, Jay.
That was a powerful interview with Miss Amber Quinney, the Scholarship Queen. I just want to give you guys a few takeaways. I know today's episode is a little long, but I definitely wanted you guys to get the full impact of what Amber is doing and how she got to the place where she is right now. First and foremost, I want to talk about her tenacity. So when Amber was not enrolled in college, she still went to class for 3 months, not being enrolled. That shows tenacity. That means I'm not going to give up. I'm going to do what I need to do to be successful. And she transferred that tenacity into her own business also. So you look at when she started the Scholarship Fest. She didn't have a lot of funds, but she used sweat equity and the resources that she did have to put on the Scholarship Fest and to jumpstart her business from that point on. And so a lot of times, guys, we always worrying about how much money we have to start our business. When's the right time to start it? It's never going to be the right time. You're never going to have everything that you need to start your business. And so you got to get out there and do what you need to do. Another takeaway, guys, is she talked about value proposition. Value proposition. And basically what she's saying is that you need to be able to value your own products or services as an entrepreneur. So when she talked about her $1,500 product, she knew that not everybody, parents could afford that. So she created an avatar. And I believe she said people that make over $65,000 a year or whatever. But the value proposition was this. You invest $1,500 in my program and you're going to get $10,000 or $20,000 in scholarships. So does that make sense? Most definitely it makes sense. So you have to create value propositions to sell your products and or services. So I always talk about the formula is problem, solution, result. What's the problem? What's the solution, whatever your product or service is, and what is that result going to mean to that person? So the problem is you don't have enough money for college. Okay. The solution is Amber's programs where she teaches you how to get scholarships. And the result is you don't have to spend as much money on college. Problem, solution, result. And that's the big thing we have to understand. So when you talk about building a business, you want to make sure that you're able to identify and actually explain what the value proposition is for your business. That's key. Before we close out also, family, just want to remind you, if you're interested in Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius, the course and on the discount, go to bebgenius.com, bebgenius.com, and enroll in Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. Make sure you use the coupon code GENIUS, GENIUS, and get $100 off the implementation program. And that's good for the first 5 people that enroll in the program. And I said it earlier on, family, the highest form of entrepreneurship is being able to monetize your genius. And your genius is the intersection between your passion and your talent. And you saw what Amber did, and she did that just off of listening to episode 199, which was titled Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. Now, what this actual implementation program does is it takes you step by step. The easy part is pinpointing. You know what your passions are. You know what your talents are. The hard part, and really when this course kicks in, is actually the monetization aspect. How do you monetize? What type of products and or services can you provide? How do you get those products or services to the right people or in front of the right people? Okay, so bebgenius.com, save $100 for the first 5 people. Just use coupon code GENIUS. Now, as I always say, family, each and every week we get more and more downloads, and that's attributed to you guys, the BEB family. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast and the blog. You guys, if it wasn't for you guys, the show wouldn't be as popular as it is. So please spread the word. I appreciate you guys and I love you guys. If you want to connect with me, anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, JAYJONES @blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Facebook, go to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Twitter, jjones001. Instagram, jjones4real, JAYJONES, the number 4. REAL. YouTube, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have additional content on there in addition to the regular audio podcast. So go to YouTube and subscribe to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. If you want to be included in the BEB text line for notifications and reminders about special events, text BEB, like Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, to 555-888. BEB to 555-888. You want to connect via LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn. Type in J. Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. If you need to book me for any type of speaking event, universities, colleges, high schools, churches, organizations, keynotes, whatever, go to bookjjones.com and you can fill out the short form. I'll get right back to you. Also, all of this information that I just talked about, you can go to BEB Connect, BEBconnect.com. That's part of the website, but it lists everything on there in addition to the latest episode of the podcast. So go to BEB Connect if you're driving and can't write all of this stuff down, and you can click the links and obviously subscribe to all the podcast platforms and the YouTube channel. Love you guys. I'll see you same time next week. Peace.